Some deaths are accidents. Some are tragedies. But these haunt American history forever. From coast to coast, these 10 deaths shocked the nation and changed everything. Each one more disturbing than the last. Each one absolutely real. Are you ready? Let's count down the most disturbing deaths in American history, starting with number 10.
Why did the bootleggers' party end badly? Because the drinks were absolutely to die for.
In Ohio, 1926, a speakeasy party was in full swing during Prohibition. The bootlegger served his special batch of whiskey to over 60 thirsty customers.
Within minutes, the first victim collapsed, clutching his throat, gasping for air desperately.
Panic erupted as more people dropped to the floor, convulsing violently in agony.
Their faces turned gray, foam bubbled from their mouths, bodies twisted unnaturally.
Police arrived to find 34 people dead, 26 more barely clinging to life.
The investigation revealed the whiskey was contaminated with deadly industrial wood alcohol. Bootleggers had stolen industrial alcohol, failing to properly remove the poisonous methanol content. The survivors suffered permanent blindness, organ failure, and neurological damage for life.
The Ohio Moonshine Massacre became one of Prohibition's deadliest mass poisoning events nationwide.
Headlines screamed across America, but illegal alcohol sales continued despite the horrific deaths.
The bootlegger received only 5 years for manslaughter, sparking national outrage instantly.
Families buried their loved ones, victims of greed and Prohibition's dangerous black market. Government agents destroyed thousands of gallons, but the damage was already catastrophically done.
The speakeasy was demolished, but locals claimed to hear screams echoing there for decades.
Today, a small plaque marks the spot where 34 souls died for a drink.
The Ohio Moonshine Massacre remains a chilling reminder of Prohibition's deadly legacy forever.
To Richard Rory. The audio features a young adult male voice with an American accent, speaking rapidly and enthusiastically in a casual...
Their story warns us. Desperation and greed create the deadliest cocktails of all.
Number 10 shows how quickly celebration can transform into catastrophe in mere moments.
But that horror pales compared to what's coming next. Let's talk about number 9.
What do you call a circus act that really brings down the house? A flaming success!
In Hartford, Connecticut, July 6, 1944, families gathered for circus excitement.
Over 7,000 people packed into the Ringling Brothers Barnum Bailey circus tent.
Under the big top, trapeze artists flew through the air as children watched mesmerized.
Then someone noticed a small flame crawling up the tent's waterproofed canvas wall.
The tent had been waterproofed with paraffin and gasoline, turning it into an inferno. 7,000 people stampeded toward the few exits, trampling the weak beneath them. Burning tent poles collapsed, trapping hundreds beneath flaming canvas that melted into skin. People clawed desperately at the canvas as it melted onto their bodies alive.
Mothers lost children in the smoke, their screams drowned by roaring flames above. Over 700 survivors suffered severe burns, many with permanent disfiguring scars forever.
Investigators discovered the circus knowingly used highly flammable materials to waterproof the tent.
5 circus officials were convicted of involuntary manslaughter for their criminal negligence completely.
Among the ruins, they found children's toys, lunchboxes, and one small charred teddy.
Hartford built a memorial, but nothing could erase the trauma etched into survivor memories.
Survivors still gather each July 6th, remembering when entertainment became their worst nightmare.
The Hartford Circus fire changed fire safety laws nationwide, born from unimaginable tragedy. Today's strict fire codes exist because 167 people paid the price.
Some say on quiet nights, you can still hear children laughing where tragedy struck.
Number 9 reminds us, safety regulations are written in the blood of victims.
The flames consumed innocents that day. But number 8 brings an even darker tale.
Why did the factory girl glow at parties? Because she had a radiant personality. In Orange, New Jersey, 1917, young women worked painting watch dials with radium. The United States Radium Corporation hired hundreds of girls for this delicate painting work. Supervisors instructed them to lick their brushes into fine points for precision painting.
Lip, dip, paint. Dip, paint.
They ingested deadly radium hundreds of times daily.
The girls glowed in the dark, calling themselves the Ghost Girls at parties.
Grace Fryer felt her jaw aching unbearably, teeth loosening and falling from rotting gums.
Doctors watched in horror as her jawbone crumbled like chalk beneath their instruments.
Within months, dozens more suffered the same fate, bones disintegrating throughout their bodies.
X-rays revealed their entire skeletons glowing with lethal radioactive contamination from within. Their bones became so brittle and they fractured from simply walking or lying down. Massive tumors erupted from their faces, necks, and jaws in grotesque formations. The company dismissed their claims, insisting radium was completely harmless to humans. Company scientists wore full lead protection while the girls painted with bare hands.
5 dying women sued in court, too weak to raise their arms to testify.
Grace's entire jawbone had been surgically removed, and she held the evidence herself, literally.
And they won their case in 1928, but victory came too late.
Over 30 women died agonizing deaths, bones literally crumbling inside their living bodies.
Even today, their graves still register dangerous radioactive levels almost a century later.
The Radium Girls' suffering created modern workplace safety laws and labor rights nationwide. They were told radium was harmless, it would make them beautiful and special.
Number 8 proves corporations will sacrifice workers for profit without hesitation or remorse.
Their bones still glow in the ground. But number 7 takes horror deeper.
Why did the Depression-era diner always have full tables? People were dying to eat there.
In Chicago, Illinois, 1932, the Great Depression had America on its knees.
Joe's Diner served cheap meals to desperate workers who could barely afford pennies. The place was always packed with laborers, grateful for any hot meal available.
Owner Joe Casper served his famous beef stew, the cheapest meal in Chicago.
Then one evening, a customer coalesced at his table, voicing blood violently everywhere.
Within minutes, dozens more collapsed, bodies convulsing on the floor in agony.
Their lips turned blue, foam poured from mouths, muscles seized in violent spasms.
Ambulances flooded the street, but 13 people died before reaching the hospital doors. Police discovered industrial-strength rat poison mixed directly into the beef stew deliberately. A fired employee had returned for revenge, poisoning the stew that fed desperate people. 57 people were hospitalized, doctors frantically pumping stomachs to save them miraculously. 13 families lost breadwinners who only wanted a bowl of warm stew tonight. The killer showed no remorse, claiming the owner deserved to lose his business. He received the death penalty for 13 murders and 57 attempted murders combined. Victims' families could barely afford funerals, and the Depression stole everything, including their dignity. Headlines called it the Chicago Poison Stew Massacre, Depression-era horror at its worst. Joe's Diner closed permanently, its reputation destroyed, the owner financially ruined completely. Today, a parking lot covers the spot where 13 people ate their final meal. They were just hungry workers seeking warmth and a meal during America's darkest hour. One act of revenge murdered 13 innocent souls who had already suffered enough.
Number 7 shows how desperation and revenge create the cruelest cocktails of death.
Hunger killed many in the Depression, but poison killed faster. Now, number 6.
What's a deep-sea diver's favorite type of music? Anything with good decompression beats.
Off the Louisiana coast, 1983, deep-sea divers worked on underwater pipelines. The diving bell allowed crews to work at crushing depths of 300 feet.
4 divers rested in the pressurized chamber after a long shift in freezing waters.
A technician on deck prepared to seal the chamber, a routine procedure done daily.
But in a moment of fatal confusion, he opened the pressurized seal instead.
The chamber exploded open. Instant decompression from 9 atmospheres to 1 in seconds.
The diver nearest the door was sucked through a 24-inch opening instantly. His body was found in pieces, literally turned inside out from explosive decompression.
The 3 remaining divers died instantly, their lungs and organs exploding from pressure.
The chamber walls were coated with blood, tissue, and bodily fluids in seconds. Crew members who discovered the scene required years of psychological therapy after witnessing it.
Investigators calculated the pressure differential, created forces exceeding several tons per square inch.
The technician who opened the wrong valve collapsed in shock, covered in victims' remains.
The accident rewrote global diving safety regulations overnight, changing the industry forever, permanently. 4 families received the worst news imaginable. Their loved ones literally blown apart underwater.
A memorial plaque was placed on the ocean floor where these men died.
Today's diving bells have 17 safety redundancies because 4 men paid the ultimate price.
Medical experts confirmed death was instantaneous, but the violence was absolutely unimaginable. Divers working that pipeline today report strange sensations, presences watching from the darkness.
Number 6 teaches us that one wrong turn of a valve destroyed lives.
The deep claimed 4 souls in seconds.
Why don't insane asylum patients ever win races? Because they're always getting held back.
In West Virginia, 1949, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum held America's forgotten souls.
Designed for 250 patients, over 2,400 souls suffered inside.
Violent patients were chained to scalding hot radiators for days without food or water.
Ice baths lasted 6 hours or more. Patients' body temperatures dropped to near death.
The asylum performed thousands of lobotomies, hammering ice picks through eye sockets into brains.
Survivors became living vegetables, personalities erased, trapped in bodies that no longer knew them.
Isolation cells became tombs where patients screamed themselves hoarse in total darkness for months.
Force feeding tubes were shoved down throats of patients refusing to eat meals.
Electroshock therapy was administered without anesthesia, patients' bones breaking from violent seizures.
Over 1,000 patients died and were buried in unmarked graves on property.
Staff members used high-pressure hoses as punishment, fracturing ribs and causing internal bleeding. Many weren't insane at all, just inconvenient women locked away by controlling husbands.
A 1949 expose revealed the horrors, shocking America into demanding reform immediately.
Government inspectors found patients living in their own waste, eating rotten food infested heavily. Reforms came slowly, but thousands had already died in unimaginable suffering and torture. The asylum closed in 1994, leaving behind ghosts and unspeakable trauma forever. Ghost hunters claim to hear screams, patients' anguish permanently embedded in these walls.
A memorial now honors the 1,000 souls buried without names or dignity here. These were mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, reduced to numbers in America's shame.
Number 5 exposes how we treated society's most vulnerable with cruelty and neglect. Madness killed slowly inside these walls. But number 4 burned fast and furious.
Why did the seamstress's career go up in smoke? Her work was absolutely fire.
In New York City, March 25, 1911, immigrant women worked floors above death. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory crammed 500 women into sweatshop floors daily, repeatedly.
Exit doors were locked from the outside to prevent workers from stealing or leaving.
At 4:45 p.m., a fire started in fabric scraps beneath cutting tables. Thousands of pounds of fabric and lint created a perfect inferno within seconds.
Women rushed to exits, only to find themselves locked in, with flames approaching fast.
The fire escape, designed for 50 people, collapsed under hundreds, sending them plummeting.
Faced with burning alive, women jumped from 9th floor windows onto concrete below, helplessly.
Witnesses watched 47 women choose death by falling over death by burning alive.
Fire department ladders reached only the 6th floor, 3 floors below trapped workers.
Safety nets shredded instantly from the force of bodies falling 90 feet down.
Inside, women held hands and prayed as flames consumed them alive together. 146 workers died. Many piled at locked doors and they couldn't escape.
The factory owners were acquitted, claiming they didn't know doors were locked shut.
120,000 people marched in the funeral procession through Manhattan streets.
The tragedy sparked America's labor movement, demanding safety regulations and workers' rights nationwide.
Every workplace safety law, fire exit, sprinkler system exists because they burned alive.
A memorial flame burns eternally near the site where innocents burned for profit.
They came to America for opportunity, but found locked doors and death instead. Number 4 proves that corporate greed will always sacrifice workers for profit without hesitation or remorse.
Fire consumed them, but number 3 shows how ice becomes the cruelest killer.
Why don't ships like to party? Because they always end up capsized and wasted. In Chicago, Illinois, July 24, 1915, thousands boarded a ship for fun. The SS Eastland prepared to take Western Electric employees to a company picnic. 2,500 passengers crammed aboard a ship designed for maximum 1,800 only. The ship began tilting slightly, and passengers laughed nervously, thinking it was engine trouble.
Within seconds, the tilt increased drastically, people sliding helplessly across wet decks.
The Eastland capsized completely in just 20 feet of water at the dock.
But passengers trapped inside drowned as water flooded compartments within seconds of capsizing completely.
Faces pressed against portholes, hands clawing desperately, lungs filling with river water slowly. Some found air pockets under the hull, trapped in darkness, waiting for rescue.
Rescuers cut through the steel hull, but too slowly for those drowning inside.
844 people died, entire families wiped out in 5 minutes total.
Investigations revealed the ship was dangerously top-heavy from poorly designed safety modifications, ironically. Lifeboats remained strapped to the deck, completely useless in 20 feet of water.
The captain claimed innocence, though he'd ignored warnings about instability for months.
22 entire families were completely wiped out, leaving no survivors at all.
Western Electric lost 800 employees, the factory silent with grief and trauma. A plaque rests underwater where 844 souls drowned in sunshine. Survivors spent lifetimes haunted by screams of drowning friends they couldn't save.
They dressed in their best clothes for a fun day, never returning home. Number 3 teaches that tragedy doesn't need deep water, just deep negligence entirely.
The river claimed its victims quickly. But number 2's death was prolonged agony.
What's a rock band's least favorite venue? Anywhere that really brings down the house. In West Warwick, Rhode Island, February 20th, 2003, a concert became hell.
462 people packed into a nightclub designed for maximum 300.
Rock band Great White prepared their pyrotechnic show in a venue with flammable foam. Within seconds of their pyrotechnics igniting, ceiling foam caught fire like gasoline soaked.
The polyurethane foam released cyanide gas, the entire club filling with toxic smoke.
For crucial seconds, people thought it was part of the show, wasting escape time.
400 people stampeded toward one main exit, crushing those who fell beneath.
A pile of bodies formed at the exit, people crushed to death while standing.
Bouncers initially blocked emergency exits, protecting revenue while people burned alive behind them.
People trapped against windows melted from intense heat, unable to break through glass.
Those who escaped through windows rolled in snow. Their clothes melted onto skin. Firefighters arrived within 4 minutes, but the club was already a crematorium inside.
Thermal cameras showed people still alive inside, trapped and burning slowly to death.
Victims' final cell phone calls captured their screams as flames consumed them alive.
100 people died, many burned beyond recognition or crushed beyond human form.
230 survivors suffered burns, disfigurement, and PTSD that destroyed their lives.
Investigations revealed no sprinklers, illegal foam, blocked exits, and criminal negligence throughout entirely.
Band manager and club owners received prison sentences for 100 counts of murder. 100 crosses stand where the club once stood, lives stolen by greed.
Survivors describe watching friends burn, their screams forever echoing in survivor nightmares nightly.
Number 2 proves that safety regulations written in blood are ignored for profit again.
Fire killed quickly with mercy. But number 1? Number 1 is medical horror absolute.
Why did the nuclear physicist get fired? He had a total meltdown.
His hand slipped. The screwdriver moved just a fraction of an inch. Fatal mistake.
Instantly, a blinding blue flash of ionization filled the room. Boom, the core went critical. Slotin jerked his hand back, stopping the reaction, but the damage was already done.
He told his colleagues,
Well, that does it. We're einsucked.
he knew he was a walking corpse.
Inside his body, neutron radiation was literally shredding his DNA strands apart instantly. Within minutes, he began vomiting violently as his cells began to die en masse.
At the hospital, his hands turned red and swollen, feeling like they were burning inside. By day 3, the skin on his hands peeled off in massive, raw layers completely.
His internal organs began to liquefy. His body could no longer replicate cells to heal.
Morphine couldn't stop the agony. His white blood cell count dropped to 0, literally.
The world's best doctors watched helplessly behind glass. There is no cure for radiation.
His brain began to swell. He hallucinated, screaming as his nervous system slowly disintegrated.
He was buried in a lead-lined coffin to prevent his corpse from radiating the soil. The Demon Core had claimed its second victim, a silent sphere of pure death.
The accident ended manual manipulation of cores forever. Humans were too fallible for physics. A brilliant mind, destroyed by a 1-second slip of a screwdriver and arrogance. It reminds us that the most dangerous thing in history isn't the bomb, but human error.
And that is the most disturbing death in American history.
From boiling caves to burning clubs, we've seen how fragile human life really is.
These 10 tragedies shaped America, written in the blood of the innocent and the negligent. If you made it this far, you have a strong stomach. Trust me, you belong here.
Hit that subscribe button, because the history books are full of darker stories, waiting for you. I'm the history narrator. Sleep well.